Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the sixth episode of sixth series of Speak with Dilys, even. It is great to be back. I was only away for like 4 weeks, and I know that you guys have not been able to eat properly, you've not been able to sleep properly. I know that you've just been so sad and cast down because I've not been around, but you know what, it's all good. I'm back now, so y'all can just relax. And yeah, it's great to be back. I'm excited for many, many reasons because I just love doing this show. And, you know, the fact that you spend your Sundays with me is great. I'm excited at the fact that we have grown so much together over these 65 plus episodes that I keep bragging about. So it's great to have you guys on here. And thank you so much for the support and the community that we have really built as a result of Speak with Dilys. So for those of you that don't know who I am, because maybe it's the first time that you're seeing me or because you live under a rock or whatever, no, but on a serious note, for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Dilys Silla. I am the host of this show, Speak with Dilys. I am a best-selling author of the book, Not This Widow. My first publication was called Predator or Prince, How to Find the Man of Your Dreams, Not Your Nightmares. And that just teaches women how to spot red flags in men who are abusive. My best-selling book was about my journey of grief and how we can go through that grieving process authentically. I'm also an event host, so if you have an event and you would like me to come and host it for you, then by all means come and talk to me. And I'm a minister in a ministry called New Glory Ministries in Essex. So I do a lot of things. I'm also a life coach, accredited and qualified. I just love people. The areas of work that I specialize in is very much in the stuff that you will hear me speaking about on this show. So, you know, it's great to have you guys back for the sixth series of Speak with Dilys. It has been a wonderful journey. And again, I just want to say a big thank you because of the love and support that you show for the people that speak about or share their experiences concerning the topics that I bring to the table. And they're not easy topics. We've spoken about mothers who hate their sons. We have spoken about, you know, marriage. We've spoken about, oh my goodness, so many things, you know, not being able to live up to the standards that society wants us to live up to as women just because we happen to be over a certain age. We've done, I won't say we've done it all, because as we continue to live, there are so many things that are going to, you know, keep popping up that need a safe space. And that's why Speak with Dilys was created, so that we can have a safe space to speak about things we normally wouldn't speak about without any judgment. And, you know, it's really rare on social media that you can have a space where people are not being nasty to each other and tearing each other down and yada, yada, yada. So, you know, thank you guys so much. So, as I always do, and as I have always done, how are you guys doing this evening? Before we kick off, how are you feeling? Put something in the comments box so I can see. Thank you for joining Anita and Danny. Danny has been great. I have to thank Danny for making this all possible tonight, because I'm not a techie person, but I said I wanted to be like Danny Bleckner when I grow up. And if you don't know who she is, I will tell you, she is my publisher. So she is the person that published my book, not the first one, because they were no good. Yeah, I went with Danny, Conscious Dreams Publishing. So if you have a story that you feel is worth telling, please get in touch with Danny. She does consultations where she will take you through a process of what it's like to have your book published, what you need to do. And she's just amazing, because my own journey, when I wrote my book, I had newly been bereaved. I published my book a year to the date that my late husband passed away. And the respect and the love and the support that I received from Danny and her team, I couldn't have done it, you know, without somebody like that. So guys, do hit her up. You never know, I might even get a discount on something. You never know, because that's a life goal. You're not asking, not get it. Hint, Danny. Anyway, thank you, Afolabi. Everyone's loving the necklace. It's by Nkapo, Nkapo. If you are interested in buying a piece like this, it retails roughly around £75. They are all handmade, bespoke pieces. And yes, she has sponsored some of my shows before, and I'm wearing this piece today. And I'm glad you like it. Patience, thank you for being on here. I am very well, thank you, my dear. Let's see how I'm going to get to these comments. Samantha, lovely to have you on here. And Monica, thank you for sharing as well. Thank you, William, for being on here as well. Guys, as you're watching, please do share. Ikea Sarkad is watching from the States, I know. So do share as you watch this broadcast. And I'm going to tell you really quickly what's happening with Speak with Dilys now. So from now on, I am going to be having guests on this show. And what I will be doing is having a 2-part episode to each person that appears on here. So what will happen is I'll have a guest one week, and the second week is where we have a teaching, learning experience. You can ask your questions. If anything has shown up for you, we just get back into that space of community. So I hope you're going to enjoy the new look Speak with Dilys. I'm looking for sponsors of the show. As I said, and Capo has sponsored this. Sarge, who was on my Facebook Live on my personal page, is offering a 5% discount to anyone that will show her my live, and her company is called Eye Candy. Okay, so if you go on there onto my personal page, you will find it. If she jumps on here, or if someone can post a link on here, that would be great. Having gotten all of that out of the way, let me have a glass of water. I'd much prefer a G&T, but we don't do that on this show. Here we behave ourselves, you know? I have a guest today, and her name is Naeema Saad. Now, she will tell you how we met. She is a wife, mother, somebody's daughter. And as life often does, it just happens. And life happened to her about 3 years ago when she lost her father. They're from a very influential political family back in Djibouti. When she lost her dad, real life kicked in then. She wasn't allowed to just mourn her father. It was about power. It was about property. It was about so many things. And even her speaking with me today, I know that there's some areas that I can't go because it's still not safe for her. She's no longer living in Djibouti. She had to flee. And she is now living somewhere else. If she feels that she can tell you where she lives, then that's up to her. But that is as far as I can go with her story, because she can tell it better than I could. So I would like us to put some nice welcoming emojis and some love hearts in the comments box to welcome our first ever guest on Speak with Dilys, Naeema Saad. And here she is. So I will just unmute you right now. Hi, Naeema. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
It's a pleasure to meet your Facebook family. They're amazing, by the
way. They are wonderful. I gotta admit, my people are good. They're real good.
They really
and then you people don't disgrace me today, or we have a guest. You know, when you have visitors in the house, you must behave yourself. All the dirty washing, you hide.
Yeah, I am part of the group now, so it's fine. Okay, I am one of the followers too, so it's fine.
So we can just keep it real and be comfortable with each other.
Exactly.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, actually. Thank you very much. Thank you for asking. Yeah.
That's good. Are you going to tell them how we met, or shall I? I think you should do it.
Well, if I remember it correctly, I will tell it, and then perhaps you can correct me on some things if I forget anything. We met on Facebook, and I saw a comment that you were asking people in the comments about how they dealt with grief when they lose a loved one. And I gave you a brief story about a relationship that I had with my grandfather and how amazing he was, and how that loss till this day kind of affects me, but I still take his values and everything he taught me. So I gave you a little brief story about that, and you reacted to it, and we exchanged briefly. It was really, really kind, really sweet. And from that moment on, I think I went on your page and I saw your whole show. I saw everything that you do, that you're a coach and you know what you're talking about. I followed a couple of your podcasts, and yeah, I just felt drawn to you. So I wrote you a message on Messenger, if I remember correctly, and you hit me back, and here we are.
Here we are indeed. And I was so astounded at your story that it actually inspired me to say, you know what, I think it's time that I now create another space for people to be able to tell their story. And I mean, our starting point was about grief. In fact, the question that I asked was something about somebody had gone on, I think it was Britain's Got Talent, and they'd done an audition. Yes. And the guy was with his grandmother, and the love between them, I was like, wow, because I never had any grandparents. Both parents lost their parents when they were very young. I just met a great grandmother. and she passed away when I was 12. So I never had that whole relationship thing. And you made a comment, and I was like, wow. So our starting point was the whole grief thing. And then when you sent me that message saying, well, you actually lost your father. And I want you to tell us a bit more about that starting point of when you lost your dad. What did that mean to you?
I felt like my whole world was actually crushing down. It was a nightmare. I was out of my body, to be honest. Everything that I was doing, I was just reacting without really thinking through or even having the luxury or the time to think things through. Everything was going really fast, so it was heart crushing, actually. But I felt like at the same time it was a wake up call. I always thought of my life to be in phases, and every 5 or 7 years or so, I changed, but drastically. Something would change drastically in my life, and I was in a phase where everything was changing drastically. But I thought that it was career wise because I just graduated and I just moved back home, something I wasn't ready for, but I knew was coming eventually because my father wanted me to be home. So all of that was what I was hoping for it to be, even though I was taking a path that I thought, okay, you don't know what you're doing, but you'll figure things out like you always do. I got met with a situation and life that I couldn't even think about it or even try to figure things out. Or all I could do was just go through it in a speed mode. And yeah, it was.
Because you mentioned that you were the only child between your mom and dad, but your dad had other wives, right?
Yes.
Tell me a bit more about that.
So my parents divorced when I was about 7 years and a half. After that, my mom and I moved to Belgium, where I currently live. I can share that information.
Okay, that's good.
I live in Belgium, and that has been since the age of my 8 years, approximately. So I grew up here with my mom. Mentality was different, but I would still see my dad every 2 years or so. He would come when I was younger to come and visit me here in Europe. And when I got older, I would make sure that I went back home every summer. So my father got remarried, but he never had a child with the other wives. So people would say, we're very superstitious. We're an African country, and the community is very superstitious, even in my country. And people would say that it was maybe a curse or I don't know, a bad eye, or based on the relationship and how things went with my father and my mom when they were divorcing.
Okay.
They would call it karma, but never ever have I heard before that I was not his child, or that I was like they call it me now after he passed away, that I was a bastard or that I was illegitimate. So never have I ever heard that. Actually, I was just the daughter of Saad who lived abroad with her mom.
So did these comments come about? You said just after your father died, not that it was anything that you'd ever heard from rumors or anything like that, just when he died.
Yes, absolutely. As soon as he passed away, the same day actually that he passed away, the news television, the national news television, let out a video speaking about his death. And they mentioned that he had multiple children, which was, of course, not true. He only had me. But I didn't mind because that was not where my mind was at the moment. So as soon as he passed away, that message was shown nationally. And then a couple of months later, it was nationally on social media and everything, basically shared that I was probably not his child and I was a bastard.
That must have been devastating.
Yes.
Even though it's not true.
No.
There's one thing I know: when you're in the height of grief and you're having to fight battles, it puts a whole different slant on that whole grieving process. How did you keep your sanity during those times?
Like I said, everything was going too fast for me, but my mind is kind of weird because I like to think of myself as creative. It's one of the reasons why I felt drawn to your podcast and your shows as well, because you have a beautiful voice and I love to sing.
Oh, thank you.
Music to me is something I always wanted to do as well. I wanted to
Mm.
be a singer, or at least work in the music industry, but that
Okay.
was a dream short-lived. My father wanted me to go to college, and that was that.
I get it. I get the whole African parent thing. Don't worry. I get it.
But music helped me. Music has always helped me and got me through the most difficult
Mm.
situations. And in this case, it was a lot of gospel. It was a lot of music from everywhere. Basically, I speak
Mm.
multiple languages, so I listen to multiple countries, musics from
Mm.
multiple countries. So yeah, music and comedy.
It's interesting how grief is, because even as a musician singer, I hated music when I was going through my grieving process. I could not listen to music at all. And I would describe it as somebody taking off a layer of skin, pouring kerosene in it, and lighting a match. It sounds graphic, but that
Yes,
is how much I hated the sound of music. And gospel music was even worse.
yeah,
It just
too
took me,
emotional.
yeah, it took me to a depth of emotional vulnerability that I just wasn't ready for. So it's really interesting that you should say that. Can I ask who your father was?
Yes, my father was Sado Margele. He was uh, he was a very powerful man, but he wasn't always that powerful when it comes to his career. He started very low. He basically climbed up the stairs, and he was an honest, hardworking man. He was somebody I admired a lot, very much so. And he taught me everything I know: courage, values, religion. The reason why I'm drawn to religion now is because of the way he was a practitioner. He was a
Mhm.
Muslim father, but he was never tough like we hear that Muslim fathers can be, or African fathers in general.
Yeah.
I was a girl, but I was still told to chase my dreams and be the best that I can be and be bold about it and be fierce. And definitely do not shy. Do not be shy or shy off of situations or anything that suits you or you want to have it. You just go for it. So I was always brought up to have this mentality of, oh, I'm enough. I can do it. Let's go.
Wonderful. That's amazing.
So that's something that was actually criticized after he passed away. I was insulted on that. I was called crazy, too energetic, basically. I was not shying off of whatever the men were discussing. This
Yeah.
was something that was concerning my legacy. This was my father's legacy, his name. So I did not want it to shy off. I wanted to be in the conversation and I wanted to also be included in the discussions because everything that was left was just me and his wives. And even though they were stepmothers to me, I still wanted to do right by them because they were my father's wives.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. When did it start to go wrong? When did you realize that you had not just a battle to preserve your father's legacy, but you had a battle to preserve your own life?
My own life, shortly before he died, to be honest. I was harassed at the hospital while he was hospitalized for the 4 months and a half that he was at that hospital in Paris. We, my father got evacuated urgently from Djibouti to Paris with a private jet. I followed him approximately 36 hours later, took my flight and went to Paris. As soon as I arrived, I was not offered a room. Everyone was staying in a hotel room. I was basically just ignored.
Mm.
Um, and when they noticed that I could pay for my room and my accommodation and everything that I would need to be there, they started finding other little ways to actually cut me off or basically not include me or ignore me, I guess, even more. And they would stop me from entering the hospital room and visiting my dad. They would neglect everything that I was suggesting for the hospital and the doctors to look at when it came to my dad's care. My father had pulmonary fibrosis, so he had a respiratory machine.
Mhm.
And as soon as he arrived, he got into a coma for a month. So he was in a coma for an entire month, and he would end up getting into another coma shortly before he would die, and then that would be it. So during that month, yeah, I was just dealing with my family, but I thought it was just petty stuff. And I was praying so hard that I was hoping that this would not happen to me. God would not leave me in a situation like this. You start thinking about things and you start, losing reality basically. And I was hoping that it was just momentarily and it would stop after a while as soon as my father would get up and they would just be nice to me because this is my family, to be honest. Even though I didn't grow up seeing them every day, they were still my family members and I respected them. But as soon as I realized that, no, this is not about, they're not here for the right reasons. They're here to make sure that if he's going to die, well, I'm not going to be included in anything, or I have to be set apart, or I have to be attacked. Basically, I was the target. And it took me a while to understand that I was a target.
So when you say they, you're talking about your family.
My father, half brothers and half sisters.
And what was it that, at which point did you think, I need to leave? Otherwise, I'm not going to make it.
After my father passed away, this is how weird the whole story was. The day that he passed away at 4:30 was a Monday, 7th October 2019. 4:30 in the afternoon. And I would end up being at the police station around 8 p.m. that evening. It took me a couple of hours to get to my hotel, take a shower because I didn't know what I was doing. And then basically just walk in the rain because it started to rain all the way to the police station and let them know that I'm going with my father's body back to my home country in Djibouti. I grew up in Belgium, so I'm a Belgian citizen. I said, if anything would happen to me, please note and tell my mom that my family probably will kill me off. This is what happened. And so they call it main courante. So I left that information with the police of Paris before I would go back home on Thursday. So he died on a Monday, passed away on a Monday, and we took the flight on a Wednesday, 2 days later, to arrive on a Thursday morning. And I would leave Djibouti approximately a year after that because I had everything there. As soon as I moved back from Shanghai and I finished my graduation, I went to Djibouti and I had my home, I had my agency, I became a lobbyist for political lobbyist, actually working with Chinese government-owned companies to attract foreign direct investment in both public and private sectors.
Yeah.
And it was hectic, but all of a sudden in that 1 year, I noticed that I couldn't get any contracts. Nobody wanted to speak with me. The doors that I used to go in and have my appointments with the directors and the managers, all of a sudden nobody was taking my calls. So basically, career-wise, it was dead. And I was pushed against the wall to sign papers.
Okay.
And that was something I didn't want to do. So time literally it took me 1 year to realize that, yes, I do have to sign the papers because I got sick eventually with all the stress, I guess.
Yeah.
I got an ulcer, so I started vomiting blood and whatnot. And the hospitals in Africa are not. You don't want to be sick enough.
You said you were pregnant at the time where you were vomiting blood, and by that time you'd gotten married in the midst of all of this.
I got married actually to avoid having undesired visitors. Let's just put it that way. But they would send me police officers to come and arrest me at my home and take me to the courthouses or basically just harass me and intimidating me. And in my culture, if you are single and not married, you belong to your family. So they could do whatever they wanted. And this is why, one of the reasons primarily that I got married very fast. And I did have a miscarriage as well. And that's when I got sick. All of that happened. And then it just took 1 year. And after 1 year, I decided that I had to leave. Except that I couldn't tell them that I was leaving Djibouti for good. So I told them that I was going. My husband actually convinced my uncles that I needed to be treated, and we were going to Turkey. And we took the ticket for Turkey, and we prepared everything for Turkey, but we didn't go to Turkey. We stopped at Ethiopia, and we got the visa for my husband to come to Europe.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you let them think that you were going to one place to act as a decoy.
Yes.
Just so that you could escape.
My main goal from the beginning was just to stay alive because I knew what I was going to do if I made it out. So yeah, I just had to stay alive.
I'm speechless. I mean, under that immense pressure, but in a way, I can understand and relate to where you're coming from. I think a lot of people assume that when you're in the throes of grief, that you can't think. And when people want to do you wrong, they just think that, well, that's the time to strike, because that's when you're at your most vulnerable, which, most normal people, that is when you're at your most vulnerable, but they don't realize that some of us are pushed in another direction, where it's like you can compartmentalize. It's okay, I'm grieving, but I'm going to put that aside. But for now, I'm going into survival gear and I'm going to keep going.
I was on survival mode even before my dad passed away. I knew what they were doing. I just wanted to see up to where they were taking it. When I saw that they had no limits, absolutely none whatsoever, I decided to actually take proof. So I started doing that was my survival technique. I needed something that I could perhaps exchange if things would get uglier than they were. So I started recording. I started getting proof from everything that was happening, and nobody knew about it, of course, or else that would have been worse. But that was my technique. I was focused on that. I was focused on getting proof of what they were hiding, why they were attacking me, what's happening, because I didn't even know my father had companies. I knew my father was a very powerful man, but I was so proud of what he accomplished that I never even thought of what is it that's going to belong to me one day, or I really didn't care, to be honest. If they would have asked me, I would have said keep it, manage it. I really don't care as long as you do good by it, because it's still my father's legacy. And I'm just doing what I have to do. I studied for other things and I was starting my career. Everything was going well.
Because you speak 6 languages, right?
Yes.
What 6 languages are they?
They're Dutch, German, English, French, Somali, a little bit of Arabic, and a little bit of Urdu. I don't count those because it's a little and little, but Chinese, Mandarin, because I spent 4 years and a half also.
I gathered Mandarin would be in there somewhere if you're talking about Shanghai and stuff like that. That's amazing. And I think
there's another tongue also, the Somalian.
Yeah, that's wow.
More, but yeah.
I can barely speak English, but what I do is I do a lot of accents. So, I don't know if that counts because I can do.
You do. I heard your Jamaican accent. It's wonderful. You have to teach.
Yeah, darling, and Auntie Mabel,
You have to teach me that. That's amazing.
That's the closest I've got to speaking other languages. But I just think that's amazing, because what I'm hearing is you were smart. You were smart. You didn't wait to react. You were proactive. It's like you picked up on what was going on and started to put your plan in place, because wherever there's money, there's power. And whoever is able to get access to the money is the one that has the power. So I'm assuming that somebody was able to get that access before.
Oh yeah, definitely. But that's why I said I just had to stay alive, because after everything that happened, first of all, money never hides itself. When it comes to wire transfers and whatnot, my third degree was in international business management. But
can I just stop you there? By the way, aside from the 6 languages, Naima has 3 degrees. Okay, carry on.
Yes. So the third one was the one I did in Shanghai, international business management with major in trade. So we literally learned how to trace money and do auditing. And that was what I was planning to do as soon as I left.
Okay.
But I also understood that there was a lot of things that was going to stay in Djibouti, like the houses, the companies, etc. Those documents. And having proof of that meant that I would have to find contacts that would be willing enough to give me those information, whether it's legal or illegal. And basically make sure that I would actually have that information in my hands before I can use them, and then think about how to use them, of course. So I became a detective as soon as I left the country. And for the past almost 2 years, in December it's going to be 2 years that I've been here. For the past 2 years, all I've been doing is researching and basically finding the accounts that I had when I was a student, basically everywhere I went, whether it's in Europe or in Asia, um, taking back that information, incorporating that information, and finding the bank accounts and whatnot. Basically, just following the trail.
Wow. And do you think you'll be able to return anytime soon?
Not as long as they're there. And if I do, I will need, like I said, I would need something heavy to make sure that they would not come at me again. But I prefer being safe, especially now that I'm a mother. And in my culture, it's not just me anymore. It's my daughter as well, because she is, how do you call it? She's part of the legacy, actually. As soon as I had a child,
Yeah.
she's part of,
Yeah, it's part of our inheritance.
Yeah, so it's not just me anymore. It's my baby as well. And the thought of it only gives me anxiety, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of course, I mean, a real mother's first instinct is just to protect. Guys, if you're watching this, please do share. I know I haven't said that, but I'm saying it now. So guys, please do share this broadcast. And, if there's some stars popping up, depending on what platform you're watching, please, go right ahead and support.
And thank you for the warm welcome, everyone.
Oh, they're loving you. I mean, I'm seeing if I can see the comments. There's some hearts and stuff here as well. So yes, guys, I think they're just so they're so engrossed in what we're talking about. And it's not just an interesting story, because at the end of the day, this is your life. It may be entertainment for us, but this is your life. At the end of the day, as a mother, I can understand that instinct to protect. And I am assuming that you maybe, I may be wrong, somehow feel divided, because now you've got two loyalties here: your father and your child.
That's true. My family and my father.
Yeah. So how do you manage that conflict between trying to fight for justice for your dad and at the same time protecting your daughter and her legacy?
Well, that is a very, very good question, Dilys. And the answer is very long, to be honest. But there's ups and downs, actually. There are days that we as a collective, family, we cannot take it. My daughter's too young, of course, but there are things that I installed in my marriage and in my life, and I just wanted to make sure, basically, that we stayed safe. So there are a lot of things that we avoid, a lot of people that we avoid, places, etc. And because it's not just what happened, you guys. I forgot something very interesting. I've been also, as soon as I left Djibouti, bullied for the past 2 years and a half, not 2 years, online. So bashing of my name, my father's name, my mother, including even my dog, my husband. The only person they don't have a picture of is my daughter, and we really, really make sure that we don't share any pictures. But I've been bullied online for the past 2 years, drastically, like heavily. Yeah. So that also led to me not being able to work in certain areas or careers. And for example, me speaking so many languages and having, including a political degree, I did political communication, my first master's. I would love to work for the European Union. I was thinking when I was younger, if I would live in Europe, I would basically try to work with the European Union or the European Commission. But that is not a possibility now, because they do background checks, So there's a lot of things that I had to avoid, but there's also a lot of things that I no longer have access to. And I just have to live with that reality.
Things always have a way of changing at some point.
True.
No situation is permanent. We just don't know when it's going to change. And when people take things that don't rightfully belong to them, at some point, that thing will work against you. It may not happen in your own lifetime, but it's just a spiritual law that whatever you sow, you reap. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It just is, like the law of gravity. It just is. So it's just interesting to watch this space and just see what happens. Let me ask a question. in all of this, there's a man that's behind you, that's supportive of you. And
Thank
tell
God.
me a bit about your husband and the impact that this has had on your marriage.
Oh, well, first of all, he's a great man. He left his job, his family, his life, his friends, everything that he knew back home to be with me and to support me
Mm.
in a time where I went from being not the hottest, but basically the most eligible bachelorette after my graduation and moving back home to Djibouti to persona non grata. Like nobody
Mm.
wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
Everybody had to avoid me. And in some ways, I understand. And I realized that today, if I would choose another man or if I would have ended up with another man back home, I'm sure that I would not have taken the steps that I am taking today.
Mm.
And I'm also sure that my relationship would not have been what it is today. And because those people were basically attached to that country, their families are attached to that country, their father or their mother or themselves, they have companies there.
Sure.
So they need the contracts, they have to have a good relationship with the
Oh, yeah.
government. My husband, on the other hand, he and I met through when they were sending the police officers to come and harass me.
Oh.
And he was one of the police officers, actually.
Oh, wow. This is kind of like The Bodyguard. This is interesting. Go on.
Exactly. And he's about my age, so we spoke because we had a friend in common. One of his colleagues, old colleagues, was actually a classmate of mine at some
Mm.
point, and while I was still in Djibouti. So we got introduced that way. Oh, okay, I'm friends with that person, he knows you as well. And his boss would actually come and harass me, well, because he was the captain, his boss.
Right.
And he would let me know, oh, they're coming, you have to make sure that,
Wow. That's amazing.
So he was just looking out for me, and from that moment on, basically grew closer, and he has been my best friend since then.
That is such a beautiful story. I mean, this is so like a movie, I have to say. And you see, ladies, for those of you watching and you can't even get a man to return your text message, can you see what love looks like? Eh? Oh,
It
he
was
would
enforced.
message me back. He's busy, but
It was
look,
enforced.
see, fairy tales do happen, guys, And I do a lot of work around relationships and stuff like that. And, we make so many excuses for accepting less than. You know what I mean? And look at what this man gave up for you.
That's true.
And you see, again, there are so many lessons in all of this because as hard as things have been, your daughter's not a mistake.
Oh, no.
She had to come, but there was a process and a destiny and a course it had to take for her to be here.
That's true.
Never not the process.
That's true.
Never not the process.
Absolutely not.
Never not the process. So,
That's why I still consider myself to yes, he does, actually. He's the oldest of 8.
Listen, if there's going to be any matchmaking in the house, I want my commission. You need to see me. I'm not giving names, details to nobody. So yeah, I mean, there are good men out there, and there are good women out there.
But it's been hard as well on our relationship.
I can imagine.
He went through it. They came after him as well, and his family. They had to find a way to intimidate me. Basically, what they wanted to do was for me to not have this light, I guess, or this energy, or because every time that they would come after me, even when they were harassing me online, I was just living. I was still living. And I didn't care because that was not what really hurt me the most. The situation itself, the death of my father, that's what really broke me.
Mm.
That's what hits me to my core until today.
Mm.
And the situation, how it evolved to what it is today, and how they're trying to insult his name. Basically, they're taking away my identity and basically insulting everything that my father instilled in me. That's what hurts me. But the fact that they send bullies after me or they call me a bastard doesn't do anything to me. Absolutely nothing. Thank God.
Do you have any allies back home?
Allies, I would not call them allies, to be honest, because there is an opposition party of the political side, opposite side of my uncle's political party. And I would be able to get along with them, but of course, I can understand they do not trust me as well. And there is a lot of uncertainty also in that political party. So I prefer staying away from everyone, to be honest. But I do have contact with certain people, and especially my husband. And when I need some information or I have to knock on some doors, I just introduce myself. And if that doesn't work, usually it's Africa, there are other ways to have what you want. So yeah,
It is what it is. Yeah.
we got it too.
So let me ask you, when you look back from the day you lost your dad, is there anything that you would have done differently?
What hurts me when I think about how he died was right before he went into his second coma. He got better. He woke up from the first coma after a month and a week, and his body basically got paralyzed while he was in coma. So not only did he lose his voice, he also lost the ability to move or to write. Basically, he couldn't communicate. I started to learn how to read on the lips all of a sudden. And I
Mm.
would ask him to speak to me in French because I would be able to code that better than Somali. And what I would have done better, differently actually, was when he used to ask me to take him. He would say, "You're strong, Naima. Take me on your back, or push me on the chair and get me out of here. Take me home. I'm dying. I want to take care of my business. I want to take care of my affairs." And we couldn't do that, to be honest, because as soon as if we would have reached the door downstairs of the lobby, he needs the machine, so we couldn't really move him. So to see my father, that was a strong man and very powerful, that I used to admire and look to for guidance, all of a sudden be frightened and hopeless. That's yeah. I would have perhaps tried something else. I don't know. Sometimes you think about what you could have done differently or things that you could have said or but yeah, I would love to have made that wish of him come true.
I always say when it comes to when you lose a loved one, and I've had to say this, to my daughter just last week. I said, you've got to deal with real life in the midst of it. It's not possible for us to always have beautiful conversations so that we don't, we can't speak to everybody like it's the last time we're going to speak to them. So we never fight, we never argue, we never have a disagreement. That's not real life. Real relationship are all those things. And if one party leaves during the course of that, then they leave during the course of that. Because the one thing we can't afford to do is feel guilty whilst we're grieving. It is the most lethal combination known to man. Grieve and forgive yourself and let it go and be confident in saying, I did the best that I could do. Hindsight is always the best teacher. But what we cannot do is live an artificial life within real life. When my late husband passed away, my daughter, they'd had their little, father-daughter disagreement. And she went to school that morning and she thinks her dad was awake, but she didn't go say bye to him. And that has eaten her up. And I keep saying to her, it goes to show that he was a real dad and you were a real daughter because you had a fight. That's real life. We can't go back and say, if only I'd done this. It wasn't meant to be. And for me, if there's anything that I would love to give you, is that when you look at your daughter, know that everything happened as it was supposed to. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know. What I do know is
It's true.
She ain't a mistake.
Oh, definitely not. She's a blessing.
There you go.
She's an absolute blessing.
Have to come through different avenues. They don't just drop from the sky.
It's true.
They have to be created by human beings to manifest. And sometimes a tree has to fall so that something else can grow.
Mhm.
And my hope is that you'd see the situation with your father and the life that you live now, as hard as it is, because this isn't the end of your story.
Oh, no.
This is just a part of it.
It's true. It's a snippet that I'm willing to share, like a trailer.
Yeah, exactly. All the juicy bits are in it.
Yeah, it's true. But basically, you're absolutely right. I was saying to one of my best friends actually a couple of months ago that no matter how I got to where I am today and the situations that brought me where I am today, I have exactly what I've always wanted for myself, which means a stable home.
Mhm.
As an only child, for me, the thing that I was most drawn to when I would dream about my future was having a family. I wanted to have what I didn't have growing up with a father and a mother, and basically feel like the child. I felt like I
Mhm.
was the grown up most of my childhood. And that realization of, oh, I used to pray for this, I used to wish for this, but the way I got it is messed up. But still, I got it though.
Mhm.
Is what still to this day makes me grateful. And people
Mhm.
ask me like, how are you even grateful? How can you be grateful waking up every day and be like, okay, people are talking about me and this is happening to me and that, and I'm dealing with this trauma and that, and I'm sick. And I'm like, no, I have everything I've ever wished for, except I lost what I had. That was
Mhm.
that was my center. But now I am the center and everything is building around me. And it's beautiful. They
It
just
really.
like easy eyes, like, oh, she's she's lost it. She's too
But you
hopeful.
see, life evolves, and if more of us could look at life, not that we've got our head in the clouds and we're not dealing with reality. You're dealing with reality. I mean, you can't do anything but deal with reality because it's not something that you can shut
No
off.
choice. You have no choice.
But what you've done is you have refocused what would take your energy. And I think that's remarkable. I mean, William says, moving story, her emotional strength is
Yeah.
remarkable and inspiring. And it
Mm.
is, because obviously I know we've spoken, but we've not gone into,
Details.
because for me, I wanted it to be, I didn't want it to be like, oh, yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I'm such an expressive person. You just see Dilys's eye so big in her head, that I'll be like, yeah. I also wanted to partake in this conversation like everybody else to know,
Mm.
what is your story? And the little that I'd heard, I said, yeah, I can see that this is somebody that is, resilient, somebody that's strong, somebody that is focused, someone that doesn't want to give up. But what are the different layers? Because I know that we've just scratched the surface of the story. I remember you were saying to me that, look, for my safety, there's some things I cannot share.
Yes.
And I said, I would definitely, respect that, because
That's true.
it may be entertainment for us. It
Mm.
may be learning for us even, but this is real life.
That's true.
And even though I've always said this creates safe space, it's always been a safe space concerning topics not concerning human beings, and you're a real living human being, and therefore
Mm.
that duty of care, I thought, you know what, let's still be able to tell your story, and let your voice be heard, so that you're not silenced anymore.
I thank you for that. And that's the reason why I actually contacted you. I life was moving forward. We discovered many things. And of course, I'm taking action. And basically, that's what I could not disclose fully. But moving towards that, I figured, hey, all publicity is good publicity. That's something I learned during my communication years. And I said,
Mhm.
hey, let me use this and make it so that the world knows about this. Whoever wants to hear it, whoever
Yeah.
is moved by it, whoever wants to share it, whoever wants to learn from it, doesn't matter. Me putting myself out there is something I've never done before. My father and I were both very, what's the word?
Reserved.
Yes, very reserved. And I'm kind of shy as well. Even though I've studied communication, I've never actually used platforms to express
Right.
myself.
Mm.
My mom is better at that than me. She's a political activist, but I've never used Facebook Live or any of that. And I just thought that getting the story out there would actually even kind of secure my safety, make
Mhm.
sure that they would not think of, doing anything.
That you're on your own. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
here I am.
It's brilliant. And one last thing. I've heard a lot about how great your father was to you and how much you admired him. And one of the things you said to me that struck me was you said, I don't want my daughter to feel that I didn't fight
Mm,
or that I gave up.
yeah.
How do you want your daughter to see you when she sees it? But let's say you give her, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years. What would you want your daughter to take from this conversation?
From this conversation or from my life?
All of it. Thus far.
Mommy's badass.
I like that.
Mommy didn't stop.
That's real.
Mommy doesn't want to stop. And mommy's not scared of anyone except for God. Actually, it's not even being scared. I do not wish to be pushed against the wall and intimidated. And I'm not a person who takes that. My character has always been, I always said to my father, we would watch movies and I would say, Dad, I think I'm going to die one day because I'm trying to speak up for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I also didn't want to continue studying law. When I started my first year of university, I got an example from my dad one day, and he said, you will get a call and they will tell you, oh, I'm the minister of this, or I'm the first lady, or what's so not. And you have to let go this young man that you are judging, who committed a crime, who raped someone, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to let go based on the fact that he's related to a member of a political party or something. And what would you say? And he was testing me. And I said, not going to happen. I think I'm going to be jobless then. And that's the reason why he then pushed me to politics. But I always said, no, I'm the person who will speak up for somebody else. And that would probably get me in trouble or killed. And I never imagined that I would have to do that for myself. I thought that I was already doing my share of speaking up for myself. And I was even too loud for some men and too frilly or too independent or whatever they thought of me. But I just want to make sure that I leave a good legacy for my daughter. And I take back my identity with force and fierceness because I'm not letting that happen. Absolutely not.
Amazing. Amazing. And I think she would be proud of you.
Hope so.
Well, not just her, but the other ones that are coming, because we know that there's more.
I'm just getting started.
I think your story, I mean, there's so many things to unpick. And I think when we go through challenges, I think where we struggle is we don't have any good examples of people that have overcome. We don't talk about that. We talk about how hard it was, how difficult. And that's why when anyone shares their story of overcoming, it's like, wow, because we don't get enough of it. And I think we need to speak up more and we need to be more transparent and more honest with the things that we go through. But when it's hard, say it was hard. When we're stressed, say we're stressed.
It's okay.
And stop putting on this mask
and
pretending that it was easy, because the truth is it's not.
Definitely.
But it's good.
And it would be good for women to actually share their stories even more, because the most messed up situations and horror stories happen to women most of the time. And we're told to not whine, to not talk about it too much, to not emotionally be a victim, to not victimize ourselves, whatever it is. And basically, they just don't want us to speak up. But I think women can learn a lot from each other. And yeah, I hope
I think
we'll learn anything from this.
We were saying just before we came on the live show that it would be amazing for more women to come together, because those of us that are older, there's so much we could teach the younger ones to prepare them for the next phase of their lives. So the 30-year-olds, for when you hit your 40s, or like me in your 50s, there's so many different things that you could learn that you don't have to go through, because we've been there for you.
True
But
that.
because we don't speak, we just sit back and let everybody fall in the ditch and be like, oh, well, yeah, I went through that. Well, tell me then,
Absolutely.
even, just so many different things. But it has been so amazing speaking to you. And what would be your parting words to those of us who are listening to you tonight?
Well, I would say take life as it comes. Not everything is ugly and negative, even when it's hitting you to the ground. You always have to find that little window of hope and bright light, because God would never leave you without it. Absolutely not. And be your true self. Never change for anybody. And don't get pushed against the wall, ladies.
Wonderful. I mean, the comments here, Monica says, love your determination, beautiful spirit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for empowering others with your life stories. God bless you both. God bless you too. Zara Mai says, this is why we share our stories those 20 years from now. I'm telling you. Tom Vegas says, whatever you are going through in life, you are not it. You are only witnessing the experience. Only when you come to that realization that you begin to live your life. Remarkable story. William says, yes, he said, moving story, emotional strength is remarkable and inspiring. And it really is. It's so humbling. It's like, whoa. So thank you so much for being the first guest on Speak with Dilys. You have set the bar.
I'm honored.
So
honored.
And, we've loved having you.
Thanks.
And it's just great. So thank you so much
for
joining
your platform. And I'm very honored to be your first guest. And I'm very pleased to have met everyone of your Facebook family. Thank you for the encouraging words. And thank you so much, Dilys. Love you.
God bless you. Thank you, darling.
Take care.
Bye. Bye, sweetheart. So that was Nima Saad. What a woman. Guys, thank you so much. I mean, I don't know how you're feeling, but for me, it's like, wow. We've only heard just about an hour of her life, and it's spoken to me as well. I know it's spoken to you guys. Let me read some of your comments. Vicky says, God will never leave you or forsake you, and God will not put you through something that you will not be able to handle. You know what? I tell you, listening to that story, you can see that, yeah, her strength is divine, but it's doable. It's doable. Somebody, I don't know, for those of you that don't have, I don't know how you're watching, it just says Facebook user, says a remarkable lady. So you may have to put your name there so that I can give you a shout out. But thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. I really appreciate it. Keep your comments coming. Please do share with the stars. Please do, because right now, as I'm now using this platform, there's a cost involved. So, things are changing because I want to bring you not just good, great content, but also the fact that, we're stepping it up, and I want to be able to bring you these stories. Sarge says, sharing our good or bad experience with each other is the best thing we can do for our betterment. We need to for others' betterment and need of the time, ladies. Get up and let's learn to share. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Sarge, please don't forget to put the name of your company and the website on there as well. Sarge is offering a 5% discount to those of you that watch this show for any of her treatments for the month of September, because those are the kind of people that I know. So guys, thank you ever so much for watching. Please do share. Adwa says it all puts things in perspective. Yes, Sarge just put the web address there, which is www.icandyspa.co.uk. So go on there, see the different treatments. You've got 5% discount. And it may be easy if you just mention Dilys Facebook Live or Speak with Dilys. That might be easy for you as well if you want to get in contact with her. And Mimi says, I'm not able to share. Please help. Oh, I think there should be a share button if you are watching the Facebook Live. It should say to you, because I'm not on my, it will be at the bottom so that you're able to share. So please do that. If you want to send some stars as well for the live broadcast, which also helps to pay for some of the stuff that I have to do here, it would be most appreciated. And if you would like to sponsor any episodes of Speak with Dilys, please do drop me a private message or send an email to speakwithdilys@gmail.com. That would be great. This necklace is by Nkapo, Nkapo. You can find them on Facebook or on Instagram and order your pizza from there. Also, if you mention my name as well, that will get you some favors. So guys, thank you so much. It's 9 o'clock. I gotta go. So next week we will be doing a part 2 in which we will just be talking a little bit more about Naima Saad's story. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a wonderful week, and I shall see you next Sunday. Same time, same place. God bless. Ciao, ciao.